Well, good morning and welcome to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus, 10:02 a.m. on this beautiful Wednesday morning. It is March 11th. St. Paddy's Day is rapidly approaching, but today we're going through 2 hours of all of the most breaking, most impactful news here locally, globally, and nationally, of course, in the United States, where we will certainly touch on the gas prices that we are seeing here in America. But before we get to any of that, we must say hello. Well, I guess I'm Connor Reel. I'm not typically on this stream, so introduce myself. You all know Sarah Calloway, super producer in the house, here to guide us through the next hour and 58 minutes. And then, of course, meteorologist Craig Moeller needs no introduction. I will give him one anyway. He controls the lightning. He powers the skies. He's Craig Moeller.
We're going to talk about all of this and jump into weather on a serious note, but something shocking last night that impacts folks here in the Mid-Atlantic. I'm sure if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, how about the Ravens pulling back on the Max Crosby deal?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Ravens sending 2 first-round picks to the Raiders for Max Crosby. Free agency essentially happens, and then the Ravens decide, actually, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
Question about his medicals, that he may have had a little bit more work done on the knee than what they had originally thought going in. But the fact that so many other things have been going in NFL free agency, and then to have to go, wait, this opens up opportunities for other teams. We'll see how it plays.
I have another update for you that in your work this morning you may not have seen yet. I have seen reports that the Ravens may potentially be going after, here we go, Adam Schefter. Ravens and Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals agreed to a 4-year deal worth up to $120 million. So they pivoted quickly to another star defensive end. They get to keep their first-round picks. I feel really bad for Max Crosby, and that's going to be an awkward Raiders locker room.
Well, and other teams, again, put things in motion, so it will be interesting to play out. All right, I know that you guys did want to talk about weather as well.
Sports honestly, reporter Craig Moeller.
I could have gone in. We could go in hard on the NFL and free agency, but I think our producer, Sarah, wants me to discuss
quite a
weather.
luxury to get to trade DJ Moore, one of the better receivers in the NFL. Anyway, back to weather. Back to weather.
And Trey, for you Ravens fans, Trey Hendrickson is awesome.
He's a baller.
So, yeah, different. I love Mad Max. We'll see where he winds up. But Trey's going to be very productive, I think, for the Ravens. All right, let's talk about something else we're going to see in the skies, and that is the potential for some stronger storms across parts of the country. I want to start off by saying, while areas to the north like Baltimore and D.C. are under a level 2 or elevated a slight risk for severe storms, Hampton Roads, our immediate viewing area, if you are tuning in from either Southeast Virginia or Northeast North Carolina, we are not outlooked for severe weather. The very, very edge of that area, a level 1 threat, just up across northern parts of Accomack and a little bit of the northern neck there under that as well. But really, the odds of severe weather there later today, very, very low. So we're going to come back and talk about other parts of the country and the severe weather coming up. But I do want to talk to you about what's happening with our local weather and the fact that it is Severe Weather Awareness Week. And, you know, we've been talking about this throughout the week. Monday was watches versus warnings. And as we go, Sarah, you know my computer's locked up again. Why does this happen to me? Why does this happen? We do have this being Severe Weather Awareness Week. Monday, it was watches versus warnings. And yesterday, we talked about tornadoes. Today, we have the lightning safety, and we want to key on that. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the main thing. And again, the number one rule when it comes to lightning safety, when lightning or when thunder roars, go indoors. Now, when I'd go out and do school talk, Connor, we would say one of the things I'd like to stress with the kids is if you see it, flee it. Meaning, if you see lightning, get inside, right? That's easy enough. Easy enough. Get inside, all right? If you have your back turned to the lightning, sometimes there could be strikes back there. If you hear it, clear it. So if you see it, flee it. If you see lightning, go inside. If you hear thunder, go inside. If you hear it, then you need to clear it. So that's the main thing, because outside there really is no safe place, and that's the concern that folks, try to go, oh, I'll be fine, we'll do okay.
Can I ask you a question?
What's that?
If you're outside and you do not have the means to get inside quickly, there's no safe place. What is the safest option if you're outside and you can't?
We're going to talk about that.
That's
okay.
coming up.
What we do, I could get to this right now, but if there's absolutely, the main thing, I can't stress it enough, find shelter, get indoors if you can. And I did get the computer back up and working again. The main thing is that you try to seek shelter either in a car or, more importantly, if you can't get inside a shelter. If there's absolutely nothing you can do, all right, you may be a slightly smaller target crouching down. You're going to find out, though, as we talk about fact versus fiction with lightning here, that's really not a great option. It doesn't give you a big advantage. So the number one thing is get indoors, but I would certainly want to make myself a low target. If there is a thick bunch of trees, like a dense forest, I would seek shelter there. If it's just some lone trees sticking up, I would stay away. All right, so let's run through some fiction. Okay, first of all, if you're in a house, you're 100% safe. You'd think that does give you more protection.
Sounds right.
But you're not 100% safe. In fact, you'll appreciate this as a bearded broadcaster.
Sure.
All right. There was a DJ.
Press on, but still.
Man, it's convincing.
It's good, yeah.
One of my early colleagues in radio actually grew a beard as he progressed, and I was talking to him because at the time beards were not as common as they are now, and he said he got a really bad scar from a lightning strike, hit their broadcast tower at the radio station, came in through the wiring and actually zapped him from the microphone, got him in the chin, and sent a scar from his chin down his neck. So that's why he grew the beard, to cover up that scar.
Through the microphone?
Through the microphone. So the truth is, when you're in a building, it is a safer place, but you have to avoid being super close to things that conduct electricity. Right. We used to, and this is way before Connor and Sarah had to worry about such things. You guys know what a corded telephone is?
Of course.
All right. Long before.
Well, I'd say it's a little self-explanatory.
Long before cell phones, we actually talked on landlines with cords. Well, we would stay off the phone during intense lightning because lightning could strike a telephone wire, come in, and get you that way too.
Right.
Anyway, all right. So
would you guys text on the landlines too? How did you text?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You would text. You would write a note, tape it to a carrier pigeon, and throw the pigeon out the window. All right. Fiction. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. You guys hear that? Oh, lightning never strikes. Guess what?
It's a parable.
Yeah, well, lightning strikes the same place often, repeatedly. One prime example of that, 13 News Now, our broadcast tower. And we've got a picture of lightning striking it in the engineering hallway, but it's been struck so many times that we get lightning suppression systems put around it because it's a tall, lone object, highest point, and it gets struck quite a bit.
That's how your hair stays up perfect like that, because we keep getting hit with the, okay, all right, now I'm getting it.
Let me tell you, we have spent a ton of money in my career days here at 13 News Now over the decades, keeping our power on and having to refresh fried out equipment because lightning struck the tower and came in, cooked computers, different wiring, control room to studio, all kinds of stuff. So,
and that's something like that. That is the, architectural ideal for a sort of a lightning attractor, right? Our tower that we have. That is exactly what you're looking to avoid.
Yeah, you've got a giant metal tower, and there's electrical stuff all over it. So lightning's like, hey, here we go.
Right.
It's a party. All right, let's get to another bit of fiction here. If trapped outside during a thunderstorm, crouch down or lie flat on the ground. This is specifically what you were asking. All right, the fact is there's really no great safe place outdoors during an electrical storm. Always seek shelter. Again, if there is a big cluster like a tight forest or something where it's not just a tree, you don't want to stand next to or take shelter under, alone, or, maybe there's a handful of trees. I'd stay away from that. But if there's a densely, kind of packed in forest where there's a whole bunch of trees, you're probably safer seeking shelter there. But there's no real safe place outdoors. You want to seek shelter. All right, and then metal, jewelry, and personal electronics. I'm on my cell phone now. I just told you corded phones, you have to be worried.
Right.
and I'm not going to show my cell phone because Sarah's convinced every time I do that, it's just to put my grandson on the. I wouldn't do that, Sarah.
No, feel free.
No, I was waiting to say, no, wait, you just photo, did. Actually. Okay. Anyway, no. No.
Wait, was that a text from our boss? Come to my office now? What was that below?
She said, Craig, you're doing wonderful. Tell Connor to stay on task. All right. No, what we're talking about here with electronics like a cell phone, the fact is the jewelry or metal will not attract lightning in and of itself, but metal does conduct it. So if you're touching a fence, for instance, I used to coach baseball. We'd have these little guys out, and there'd be lightning, and they'd be like, oh, get off and get over to the dugouts. Dugout's not good, especially if it's metal around it, all the fencing, because if lightning strikes the backstop or any of the metal connected, it can go over. We were like, get to your cars, So the bottom line is metal in and of itself, jewelry isn't going to attract lightning.
Little League Baseball, metal bat standing in that batter's box is as dangerous as it gets.
Well, you think about that. I always worried about the outfielders, honestly, because those are little, slightly elevated little points in the outfield that are out in the middle of nowhere. We get them in immediately, get all the kids off the field. So anyway, just some facts and fiction.
Can I ask another fact or fiction very quick? It's going to sound silly, but I think it belies an actual question, which if we were out and it was a lightning situation and we had a group of people, we would always make the joke, stand next to the tallest guy because you'll be safe because that person is more likely. Is that a true thing?
So that is really funny you bring it up, and not funny like ha ha ha, but kind of a little ironic. I always think when you think about groups of people outside, I saw a video, and this was probably 15, 20 years ago, somewhere along in the career path, of lightning striking a soccer field, and it was in South or Central America. But what happened was lightning struck, and there was a bunch of players that gathered together. Not that they were huddling together to do it, but one hit and they all fell. So the point is this. You want to spread apart. When you're together in a group, you're a bigger target. And the other thing is when you stand, next to something that is taller, whether it's a person, a tree, that people used to try to take shelter under trees. If lightning strikes that tree, either lightning can come off that tree and hit you, or limbs can split. The trees have literally exploded. So there's so many different ways that you can be hurt. Let's take this full, Sarah. The worst places to be when lightning strikes in open fields, on top of a hill where you're the tallest object, near tall isolated trees, or near water or metal. Also, where there's differing surfaces, like on a beach where there's water next to dry, that also for some reason can be a little bit hotter of a target. Best place to be, obviously, inside a building, number one, or a car. And when you're inside a building, stay away from those things that are connected to other conductors, like wired appliances. You want to give those some space. And you also want to stay out of the bathtub. Don't take showers, that type of thing, because the pipes can conduct electricity as well. All right?
I told Connor that earlier, and he thought I was lying.
No.
Okay, let me just circle back on this. I am learning a lot here. You're not supposed to take showers during lightning storms.
I never do.
Really?
Yeah, and we wouldn't give the kids baths when they were, little bitty guys. We were like, nope, get out. You're off the hook. I used to do the school talks, and at this point of the school talk, I would literally take my tie, this is with little kids, and undo this right a little bit, and take my hair and mess it up. I mean, if you ever see me on the air, looking like this, as opposed to all together, it's because there was a thunderstorm that morning, and I wasn't going to take a shower before coming in.
Okay.
They'd laugh, but the point was, you don't take showers or baths.
I owe Sarah a public apology, I suppose. I really was refuting this. I did not think...
It's a thing.
I just figured that the architecture of our homes by now had created some sort of insulation system to where that was safe.
Well, it depends what kind of pipes you have, too. If it's all PCV, I mean, it's not going to be conducting like metal pipes would, but I wouldn't take chances. Why mess with it?
If you have a big sink full of dishes and you're going to have the sink on for 15 minutes while you do the dishes, avoid that during a lightning storm.
I wouldn't mess with anything with plumbing or, directly. I don't even like to be, now I'd be on a laptop that's Wi-Fi connected, but I wouldn't be on a wired one. In fact, we have power surge protectors for a reason. I mean, think about it. So you just, I'm telling you, my hair, that is a look. All right.
I think both look good.
A little scruffy, a little
Yes.
undone. All right. So one other fun fact about lightning, and then we're going to move on to what we've actually been seeing across the country. How far away the lightning is, you can determine by the time between the flash and the bang. So lightning strikes, you start counting for every 5 seconds that passes between the lightning flash and the roar of thunder, it equals 1 mile away. So 5 seconds between flash, and you start counting. Boom, that's 1 mile, okay? 10 seconds, 2 miles. 15 seconds, 3 miles. And one thing that I still do to this day, Connor, when I'm laying in bed, if there's an intense thunderstorm that's rolling and I'm laying there thinking, okay, is this cell getting closer? Is it moving away? Count the difference. And that particular cell that's producing that lightning as it's moving along, when the flash bang gets farther apart, you know it's past. When it's getting shorter between the flash and the bang, you know it's rolling towards you. So it gives you a little heads up.
Okay, got it.
All right, I know we're going to take a break, but
We are gonna take a
Sarah,
break.
on the other side of the break, we're going to have our local forecast. We don't have thunderstorms in the forecast today, okay? It is going to be warm, record warm today. We'll talk about that, and then we're going to take a look at some of the big storms impacting other parts of the country. Does that
Okay.
sound good?
You heard the man. We'll see you after this break. Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News. Thanks for sticking with us. We are going to stick with weather. We got a local forecast still to come. A lot of great lightning information there. Not a concern for us here today in Hampton Roads.
No, but again, it's Severe Weather Awareness Week, and it's a good thing for Virginia because Northern Virginia is under the severe weather kind of outlooked area. No watches yet, but there's a good chance you're going to see something later today. Let's talk about our local weather here in Hampton Roads. You can see temperatures really warming up today. We're going to see highs into the mid-80s. Connor, our record high for today, 82. You see what's showing over Norfolk.
We're going to blow right past it if everything works out the way it's supposed to.
We should. So yesterday was a record high. Today should be a record high.
We're
as
closer to 90 than we are to the previous record.
Well, for some inland areas.
Inland areas.
Yeah, I think officially the airport will top out around 84, so a couple degrees above.
Okay.
As we go through the overnight, temperatures in the low 70s, still dry. So you don't really see much storminess or anything developing. There will be rain that comes in later on. As we go, I'm going to stop at around 11 o'clock. And let me see if I can pull out my little handy-dandy pointer here so you can see where that front is. Connor, can you spot it? Do you see where that front is?
Can I spot the front? Can I spot the front?
Can you see it? I'm going to put this up here.
It's see, now I was gonna act like whatever I was
right
pointing
here.
out was
I'll
right.
bet if Connor was going to identify it, he'd say it's kind of right there where those
Right
winds.
there.
You see that arrow on the screen there?
This
Okay.
is the front.
Yes. Look at Connor's manipulating that perfectly
Look at
because
that.
look at
The
that.
arrows are colliding there.
Yes, you see that pointer on the screen. So you've got winds coming up from the south of the front. You see that? And then north of the front, we've got winds coming down from the north and the northwest. So this is setting up this boundary. Look at what happens behind that front. We have rain showers that develop through the afternoon. And do you know what's going on in this area here highlighted in blue?
Is potential snowfall that will not accumulate.
That is wet snowflakes in
Wet
the mix. Yeah.
snowflakes.
Some of the models were actually trying to produce like an inch of snow, something like that. But look at the air temperatures.
So let's just take stock here. This is tomorrow at 3 o'clock p.m. You just talked about how today at 3 o'clock p.m. we're going to be in the low to mid 80s.
Correct. Let's say
Tomorrow,
84.
84. Tomorrow, potential wet snowfall. Just an astounding roller coaster of weather emotion
The
here.
temperature at 3 o'clock tomorrow, 44.
Yeah.
40 degrees.
40 degree difference.
Gotta love Norfolk. All right. Off to the north, again, maybe some wet snowflakes in the mix. Now,
And that purple's a sleet type of thing?
yeah, it's just kind of a mixed boundary.
Okay.
You look at this. Let's be sensible here. Air temperatures are in the low to mid 40s. I mean, mid 40s Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake. Low 40s Newport News, Memphis, Chincoteague. Anything that falls is going to melt. The ground has literally been baking. I mean, for the week, we've been above normal. With
Might as well be falling onto a stove.
It's falling into a skillet.
Okay.
It is already preheated. So what falls should melt. Now, some grassy areas, maybe the rooftops of a car or handrail. If you get a really heavy snowburst, you might see a little coating out there, but it should melt pretty quickly as it sits here in that warmer environment. You look off to the north there by 5:45, 6 o'clock. Whatever's out there may be mixing at the end a little bit. Should be clearing out and ending upper 30s to near 40. And there you are by 10 o'clock. You're still in the upper 30s to low 40s. So even if you were to get a heavy coating underneath some of the heaviest downpours of snow mixing in, pulling some of that colder air down, it should melt off pretty quickly. That's the thinking right now. Little to no accumulation expected. And the Weather Service was sharing some of the model probabilities. Probability of little more than a trace of snow is less than 10%. So, again, the model's suggesting we could see something, but it's so warm it should melt. If, of course, anything changes tomorrow, we will be on top of it here at 13 News Now. All right, looking ahead, Friday will be cooler, temperatures in the mid to upper 50s. That's close to average, just not the record warmth that we've had. So quickly, we'll take a look at the snow potential with the Euro. You see how it produces a little bit there. But again, that's not what sticks. That's kind of what falls and melts. As we look at the pollen report, moderate to high tree pollen, cedar, juniper, maple, and ash. Temperatures today, mid-80s, upper 80s inland. It is going to be a summer-like day. The eastern shore a little cooler. And down to the south, temperatures upper 70s to near 80 at the Outer Banks, but mid to upper 80s inland. Lows tonight down around 66. Tomorrow 72. That temperature occurring earlier in the morning, falling through the afternoon. Rain develops, may end with some wet snowflakes in the mix, especially north. It will be cooler, but the weekend looks good. Friday will be mostly sunny, 56, 62 on Saturday, and 68 on Sunday. Some more showers before a chilly St. Patrick's Day. So, Connor, as you're preparing to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, just know that,
I got great news for you, Craig. The true St. Patty's Day celebrations for a calendar like this, those got to happen on Saturday.
And they will.
That's a Saturday, Sunday
View's
move.
Parade going on
Tuesday
Saturday.
will be great. Wear your green to work. But the true St. Patty's Day celebrations, it's a Saturday, Sunday move when it falls on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we're all set.
And again, Ocean View, again, they're the amazing St. Patrick's Day parade, that celebration. It's going to be fun on
I
Saturday.
love that Ocean View parade.
It's a good time.
You could it's never ending just entertainment.
Yeah.
As it goes. And it's your community that is kind of
It's awesome.
doing it. Yeah.
There is a certain flavor and energy around Ocean View in Norfolk that is awesome. All right, we'll take a look at the severe weather outlook, and this is what I know, Sarah, you wanted to get into here. Back across portions of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, down to the south across the deep south, we have the potential for more strong storms and severe weather. Wind is going to be an issue for the Ohio River Valley and down across the deep south. You can see from Louisiana through southern Mississippi and southern Alabama, and then Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Maryland. You can also see the potential for large hail, and that hail extends down to the south. This system has already had a history of producing some tornadic weather. There's an elevated threat for tornadoes down across the deep south. Again, East Texas through Louisiana into Mississippi and Alabama. You see those areas there. This is a level 2 tornadic elevated threat, and we are talking about EF2 or greater tornadoes potentially there. And back across West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. So a couple areas we're really going to need to pay close attention to. And I think it's important to note with this situation, this has had a history of producing the damage. You're taking a look at some video right now, and again, back across Illinois and portions of Indiana, they were slammed really hard. Now that's from Kankakee, Illinois, and you can see again the situation there, the tornadoes that were impacting. We were talking with Eugene Daniel yesterday and the day before. He used to work in Peoria, which serves this area, that TV market, and he still has a lot of friends back there. I know he was active in his church and youth ministry, still a lot of that family back there for him. And I know he was reaching out to them, and this is why, Connor. You take a look, that threat was real, and it was realized with these storms. Sarah, I know you caught up. I guess there were some press conferences earlier. Is there anything you wanted to add?
I was just going to say we can take that press conference once you're wrapped up with.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're good. The point that I wanted to make is the same storm system that produced that video that we just saw, and you're looking at some of the damage there across Illinois, Indiana. There were strong storms with powerful winds across Missouri and large hail. Hail in Texas, larger than a golf ball, basically baseball-size hail. Wow. In portions of Texas and Oklahoma hit pretty hard. This system has had a history of producing large hail. That video, the lady that shot that, she had mentioned her car's windshield was damaged by these large hailstones coming down. So again, this is no fun for homeowners. You know, you worry about your property, things like your cars, but when hailstones are this large, you worry about your shingles, your siding, your rooftops. I think about like RVs and dealerships, you know, they will have entire inventories of cars have to be marked down, and insurance claims are crazy. That's baseball-sized hail right there.
And just careening down from the sky. Do you have a miles per hour on how fast those fall?
So, yeah, I mean, there's a terminal velocity that they fall from, and I don't have that right off the top of my head, but they come crashing down. Basically what happens is inside that thunderstorm, you've got updrafts and downdrafts, and if the updrafts are strong enough to support the weight of the hail, it continues to go up. It's almost like a little pelt of ice. This is exactly what happens. You get a little chunk of ice, and it goes up to the top, and it freezes solid, then it falls back down, and it runs into water droplets, and it's almost like a fresh paint of coat. Fresh coat of paint.
Close.
Yeah, that's it. Reverse. All right. So you got a fresh coat of paint, then it goes back up to the top. What happens? It's cold up there. It freezes.
Yeah.
So that paint hardens, comes back down, gets another coat of moisture, goes back up, hardens again. Does that repeatedly, that cycle, until the updrafts, you might have updrafts, 70 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, whatever, forcing those hailstones up. At some point, that hail becomes too heavy for the updraft, and then it falls to the ground.
Yeah.
So, again, this is the type of hail, when you get bigger than that, it can take a toll on livestock.
Absolutely.
And people as well. You don't want to get caught out there. We've got pictures and images, video of people severely bruised from hailstorms. It's no good to get caught out.
A very scary situation, and obviously, while we experienced some really beautiful weather here in Hampton Roads, good to remember that there are others across the country who are in the midst of very dangerous situations that could have wide-ranging, as you said, kind of devastating consequences.
Yeah.
So Extreme Weather Week continues, and we are going to continue with a press conference from Illinois regarding some of the storms they've been experiencing. Before we go to that, we want to say thank you so much, Craig Moeller, for coming in and hanging with us. You go get yourself a fresh paint of coat, and we will see you tomorrow.
That sounds like a plan. You guys stay weather aware. Again, the severe weather threat for Virginia, northern and western parts of the Commonwealth. We should be good here for now. Enjoy the warmth today because it gets colder tomorrow.
Enjoy the warmth always. We're going to have a quick commercial break. Then we'll go to that press conference in Illinois. Then we'll move on to some of our big stories of the day. For now, a brief commercial. Welcome back to Live Impact News. We are going to continue with our weather coverage, but we're going to move to some of the extreme conditions elsewhere in the United States. A brief sort of summary here while we look at some of the damage that has occurred in Illinois. Storms in Illinois that stretched into Indiana. The Associated Press reporting that at least 2 people killed by this series of storms, others injured. Rain, hail, strong winds making its way through the region on Wednesday. Several intense supercell thunderstorms moved across northern Illinois, northwestern Indiana. One supercell responsible for at least 4 tornadoes that resulted in some of the massive damage that you're seeing right now on your screen. People were trapped in their homes and had to be rescued. Many roads unpassable, at least 70 utility poles knocked down. All of this relayed as a part of the Wednesday morning press conference. We're going to watch that press conference in full right now. Let's take a listen from Illinois.
My name is Matthew Alexander Hildebrand. I'm the Kankakee County Board Chairman. With me today is Chris Curtis, the City of Kankakee Mayor, Sheriff Mike Downey, and Jeremy Smith, VP of Distribution Operations for ComEd. Last night, the county formally filed a disaster declaration with the state. This step is critical in allowing us to access additional resources to assist communities as recovery efforts continue. The damage we have seen across parts of the county is significant, especially in parts of Aroma Park, Bradley, Bourbonnais, Kankakee, and Momence. Fortunately, there are no deaths or missing people and only 9 with minor injuries. While homes, buildings, and infrastructure can be rebuilt, lives cannot be replaced. Our thoughts and prayers remain with the families that have been affected. I want to express my sincere gratitude to our first responders, law enforcement, fire departments, EMS personnel, public works crews, county highway, and all emergency management partners who have responded immediately and worked tirelessly to protect the lives of the citizens of Kankakee County. Their professionalism, courage, and dedication exemplify the very best of public service. In the coming days, the county will continue to work closely with municipal leaders, Public Works Department, and state partners to coordinate debris removal, recovery efforts, and support for affected residents. Our priority remains on the safety of the residents of Kankakee County, and further updates will come as we know anything. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I appreciate everyone's support. The governor's office did reach out, and they said that they would support us in any way, so I'm very thankful for that. And at this time, I'd pass it off to the Sheriff Mike Downey. We'll do that first.
Good morning. Just for clarification, we are going to each make a comment, and then we will open it up and answer a few questions. So shortly after 6 p.m. yesterday evening, deputies, along with other trained weather spotters throughout Kankakee County, observed rotation in the clouds around 5,000 West and 6,000 South Road, just northwest of Chebance, Illinois. Sheriff's deputies continue to monitor the rotation as it traveled northeast along Interstate 57. Deputies confirmed a tornado had touched the ground around the Kankakee Fairgrounds and watched it as it traveled towards our location here today, actually this building. Our public safety building and the Jerome Combs Detention Center were both damaged, although minimally, all things considered. The area north of us around the South Kankakee exit suffered more severe damage. The tornado continued toward Kankakee Community College, where it eventually crossed the river, and into Aroma Park, where it undoubtedly did the most severe damage. Deputies, along with other trained weather spotters, continued to survey the storm until it crossed the state line and into Indiana. Afterwards, they, along with multiple police and fire agencies from all over, ranging from Iroquois County, Will County, and many others, began search and rescue efforts, as well as general assessments for damages and structural concerns. All of this was done with several severe storms potentially heading in our direction. I'm amazed at the way the community came together in such a short time. I, along with Chairman Alexander Hildebrand and Mayor Curtis, work with other state and local officials to activate our Emergency Operations Center and declare an emergency with the state of Illinois. We had resources from the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, the Illinois State Police, ILEAS, MABUS 7, NICOR, the American Red Cross, ComEd, ICANN, the National Weather Service, Will County EMA, both St. Mary's and Riverside hospitals, and so many more. Our Emergency Management Agency, run by our director, Becky Powell, has done outstanding work in starting this process when we started yesterday, shortly after 6:30. We have made arrangements with Kankakee Community College to provide temporary shelter for anyone displaced or is in need of lodging as a result of the storms. As of right now, miraculously, we've had no reports of loss of life or serious injury. We can confirm 7 to 9 reports of non-life-threatening injury. A big credit goes out to all of our first responders and trained weather spotters that diligently continued to monitor this storm, which ultimately allowed CANCOM to send the alerts and sound the tornado sirens almost instantly. We continue to work with our colleagues at ComEd, who have done a remarkable job up to this point by restoring power to those without, a process that is still ongoing. Last night, we were advised that there were 7,400 homes without power, 2,600 of which were within the city of Kankakee. I again want to thank all of those that assisted and continue to assist in our recovery efforts. I continue to urge area residents to check on the welfare of your neighbors and loved ones. This recovery will undoubtedly take time, but we are so grateful that we did not sustain loss of life in this storm. I will at this point turn it over to Mayor Chris Curtis, the mayor of the city of Kankakee.
Good morning. Chris Curtis, Mayor of the City of Kankakee. You've heard from Chairman Hildebrand, Alexander Hildebrand, and Sheriff Downey, and they've covered most of the points. I'll highlight quickly from the city's perspective. We're very fortunate that where the tornado did come through at the City of Kankakee was mostly our commercial and industrial area and not a heavy residential area. but it has suffered significant damage. As you see, we had several road closures with the sheared off ComEd power lines and poles. We're still evaluating all these buildings at this time and how long it'll take to do that cleanup. Immediately last night, our police and fire personnel doubled up their efforts, calling in all sources. Fire department had assistance from 2 different counties. I believe there was 7 fires that occurred as a result of this storm throughout the county and the city of Kankakee. Those all were extinguished very quickly and brought under control. We did have a major industrial user in the city of Kankakee. There was some concern with some odors and some things, but there were no leaks, and that has been on a fire watch and is okay in a safe position at this time. Our team of Department of Public Works, we're fortunate that we have a large crew of 26 men and women with several end loaders and dump trucks. They were brought in last night to assist and clear roadways, and then they've been on full steam this morning. We will provide those efforts, as we believe most of the efforts in Kankakee are clean, passable roads at this time, so we will now help the unincorporated parts of Kankakee County and Aroma Park with their brush debris, clearing of debris, and making sure that everyone is safe in that area. At this time, I do want to say and concur with what Sheriff Downey had mentioned. I think it was very critical with this daylight savings time that happened now, that it was the light hours, and thanks to you, the media, you were well out in front of this 24 hours in advance, several hours before the storm was coming in and tracking it. I think that is what saved a lot of lives. People were prepared. They may have not been in their homes because they were still at work, and we're just grateful that we had no loss of lives, and it could have been much worse, and so we're thankful. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jeremy Smith of ComEd, who is the Vice President of Distribution Operations.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Curtis. I want to give a brief update on our restoration efforts for the citizens of the Kankakee County. Obviously, the storms brought heavy rain, large hail, and tornadoes to this area of the service territory, and as you've seen, did significant damage to all infrastructure within the area. ComEd has seen significant damage, bringing down multiple utility poles and lines in the area, as well as other areas of the service territory. Overnight, we had crews proactively staged throughout the service territory. They've been diligently working to remove debris, making the areas safe for our customers as well as our employees doing the work during the day today. In total, just over 27,000 ComEd customers unfortunately lost power as a result of these storms across the system. So far, we've restored close to about 23,000 of those customers. In the Kankakee County area, more than 8,000 customers unfortunately were impacted. We've restored close to 3,500 of those customers so far, and we are looking to bring more resources into the area to restore the remainder. We have about 400 ComEd crews currently working throughout the service territory, actively looking to see how we can deploy more resources where the heavily hit areas were. We will be working around the clock to get the customers in Kankakee County and throughout the service territory back as quickly and as safely as possible. Our priorities are critical infrastructure such as police and fire stations, hospitals, and nursing homes. We will look at different methods of restoration to get them up and running, and then we will be working on the additional outages throughout the service territory. For folks that are experiencing an outage, I do encourage you to contact ComEd through our various communication channels. We do want to hear from our customers. We are actively assessing damage to make sure that we are able to expedite restoration as soon as possible. And we will be updating those restoration times throughout the day as we get more intelligence in the field. So appreciate your time, and with that, I'll turn it back to Sheriff Downey.
We'll open it up for a couple questions now. If you have questions for a specific person, just let us know.
Hi, Evelyn from Channel 7. How are you all today? Can you talk about how many, are you aware of how many tornadoes actually touched down as of yet, and the strength of those? And I've got other questions too, but I'm at like 55,000.
We don't have a specific number of tornadoes at this point. We know of one we don't know of any others at this point until the National Weather Service confirms that with us. So that's what we know now. Certainly, the National Weather Service will have some more information for us today, as well as the strength of it.
Sheriff, how do you respond to an area like Aroma Park where the power lines are leaning over the road, there's trees all over the place? Do you go door to door?
Yeah, we had people going door to door trying to make sure that people were safe, making sure people were taken out to a safe area. So yes, we had a number of law enforcement, first responders going door to door. Obviously, with down power lines, you're talking about the potential for a dangerous situation, that these lines may have some electricity still running through them. So yeah, it was a difficult night, but fortunately, with the training our guys had with ComEd, with the help from ComEd, everybody did a great job, and we got people out and we got people safe.
Were there areas like along Sandbar and also Waldron that were harder hit than other areas? Are there?
As far as
I mean, as far as damage, I'm trying to figure out where where.
yeah,
the
so
are.
obviously damage assessment is going to take place really throughout the day today. We'll be going through everything. It was difficult at night to go assess damage. I mean, we were more concerned with the people last night. Today we'll assess some damage. I know that there are some houses and residences that are leveled. And those obviously will be our first priority to make sure that they have housing, that they have what they need. And the community has been awesome in their assistance and offering assistance. So we'll do a lot of assessment today.
Sheriff, would it be fair to say the bulk of the heaviest portion of destruction would have been Kankakee South? Schuyler looks like one of those war zones, as we say all the time. Would that have been the hardest hit, or do you have any idea to that at this time?
I'd say at this point, the hardest hit area is probably along Walden Road, Elmwood. There's a lot of residential houses in that area. As I mentioned before, in the city of Kankakee, it's mostly commercial and industrial buildings that hit, while they are significantly damaged and probably will have to be allowed to be torn down. I think it's that residential district that has a heavily treed area, so as that made its way to the river, I think you got several damage there. And then as driving around and looking this morning, it's that Walden Road into the northwest part of Aroma Park.
Mayor, what can you share with us about, I know that one of you mentioned, and I don't remember who, but I mentioned about several injuries. Thank God, nothing major. Can you give us any information about them? Are they adults, children, ages? Were they in one house, several homes? We
do not have the ages or who they were. We just know that there was at least 9 people, most of them self-transported to the hospital for very minor injuries like lacerations and things from glass.
Were there hail injuries, meaning people being struck with these large hailstones?
We heard there was a few that had transported themselves to the hospital for that also, but nothing of significance. Everybody was released.
I read this morning they believe this could have been the largest amount of these massive hailstones in the state's history. Have you guys heard anything to that nature?
We have not. We know the National Weather Service was with us all last night. They've been keeping us updated on emails. They do not expect that they'll have all the information that you're looking for till probably late afternoon or early evening after they do their assessments of the strength of the tornado or how many that might have touched down.
Is there any estimate on the number of structures damaged?
I do not have any at this time.
Not between both, no.
Yeah, I would say it's probably, we can't answer that at this time.
How long does it take, do you know, the sheriff to create a damage estimate?
Well, the damage estimate, and again, is just an estimate. We will be doing that today with the help of Will County EMA. So, the more help we have, obviously, the quicker it'll go. But it'll take some time, and some people won't know how much damage they have for a number of days till they can get back in their house. Okay. Anything else? We'll continue to update on our social media page. So I would obviously encourage you to take a look at that during the day. We'll update the information as best we can as we get it. So thank you, everybody.
One last question. Is there any word on when the National
So they were here last night. Yeah, they were here last night, which helped us because, remember, we had storms coming afterwards. So that was obviously a big concern for us. They will be here today again, and then they'll do their work and determine strength of the storm and all that stuff today. Hopefully we can get that information. We'll get that information out as soon as they get it to us.
Sheriff, I know you said you would update your social media pages, but will you have another?
All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. The conclusion of that press conference in Illinois, just about, looks like one more answer from the sheriff there, but you can get a sense of what they're dealing with in regards to this extreme weather. So thoughts with Illinois, Indiana, that entire area where thunderstorms and tornadoes creating devastation for families and communities. So thinking about them and continuing to observe this extreme weather week and make sure that all these lessons that we get from Craig and Evan, when you're in the midst of a very warm week, it's easy to let those lessons pass you by, but important to adhere to them because you never know when you'll be in a situation where they could come in handy for your safety. Okay, we're going to take another break here. We're going to go to commercial. When we come back, we're going to have an update on the conflict in Iran that rages on across the world. For now, a commercial. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News this morning. It's about 10:53 a.m. We've got another hour plus of news for you. And before we went to break, we mentioned how we were going to give an update on the conflict in Iran. More and more news continues to come from that situation, from that conflict. But we actually need to pivot here on Live Impact News. We will get to Iran. We will get to those updates. However, first, we have just gotten a message from our assistant news director noting that the Virginia General Assembly is in session, and as a part of that session, they have officially approved legislation updating the Virginia Beach City Charter to reflect that voter-approved 10-1 district system, aligning the city's governing structure with the decision made by Virginia Beach voters. If you're in Virginia Beach, you likely saw that referendum on your ballot. It was approved by voters. It now has been approved by the Virginia General Assembly. We have a quote here from Senator Aaron Rouse, quote, "The passage of this bill shows us what happens when communities are empowered to choose for themselves. However, this achievement would not have been possible without the commitment and persistence of community advocates like Georgia Allen and Latasha Holloway, whose voices pushed this issue from the beginning." This is November in 2025 that Virginia Beach residents voted on that system, the last election cycle when they approved it. It provides 10 single district representatives and a mayor elected citywide. That's different from the 7-3-1 system, which would have been 7 individual districts, 3 citywide districts, and then a citywide mayor election as well. So the 10-1 system approved and now official, passing through the Virginia General Assembly. Delegate Kelly Converse Fowler playing a major role in this initiative. She says, quote, "This has always been about respecting the will of the voters. Virginia Beach residents made their voices heard clearly, and today the General Assembly completed the final step to ensure our city charter reflects that decision." So a sort of the end of a story that we covered extensively and for quite some time here at 13 News Now and here on Live Impact. That final step, now a part of the city charter, the 10-1 voting system, 10 individual voting districts, and then, of course, the mayor elected citywide. Now, that Virginia General Assembly in session right now. Just in general, we have a live look into the Virginia House right now, or excuse me, the Virginia Senate. Senator Richard H. Stewart, on the floor right now speaking.
And I just saw Aaron Rouse speaking as well.
Aaron Rouse
It
just
looked
speaking.
like they were doing a back and forth.
Okay, sounds good. And it looks like HB 1013 is the bill that they're discussing. There's Aaron Rouse. I was going to give an update on this bill, but Ghazala Hashmi, obviously running this meeting, recently elected lieutenant governor. Now, I want to see if we can. So House Bill 1013 is the bill that we had spoken about earlier, Sarah, which is Diamondback terrapin protection areas in portions of the Chesapeake Bay. The Diamondback terrapin, a wildlife species here in the area in the Chesapeake Bay. This a discussion about potential protection areas for that species. Let's take a listen in live right now and hear as the Virginia Senate discusses this impending legislation.
Couple extra crabs in a crab pot for dinner because it's recreational here, and I hope that we would defeat this bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Seeing no other senators who wish to speak, the question is, shall House Bill 1013 pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 18, noes 22.
Ayes 18, noes 22. House Bill 1013 does not pass.
House Bill 1015, a bill relating to possession or transportation of firearms, ammunition, stun weapons or explosives, or carrying of concealed weapons by persons convicted of misdemeanor hate crime, prohibited penalty. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations.
The senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the committee's substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute from the Committee for Courts of Justice be agreed to? All in favor of that motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. Senator from Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass and speak the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to try this one from memory without my notes. This bill basically prohibits someone from carrying a concealed weapon if they've been convicted of a hate crime. I believe it also might add them to the prohibited firearm purchase list once they've been convicted of that hate crime. However, just so in case you're worried that it's a lifetime ban, because it's not covered by the Lautenberg Amendment, the federal law that has to do with domestic violence, I believe this is a firearm right that could be restored by a circuit court judge over time, but after time. So I believe that's what the bill does. Hope we could pass the bill.
The question is, shall House Bill 1015 pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. House Bill 1015 passes.
House Bill 281, a bill relating to Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act non-compliance as defense to action for possession or non-payment of rent. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senator from Western Henrico.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, move passage of the bill and speaking to that motion.
Senator, we must first adopt the amendment.
Oh, thought we did that yesterday. Sorry. Move the amendment.
The question is, shall the amendment from the Committee on General Laws and Technology be agreed to? All in favor of that motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Senator from Henrico.
Thank you, Madam President. Move passage of the bill and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, members of the body, that amendment was a delayed enactment of a year. And what House Bill 281 does is remove the provision requiring that a tenant in possession of a dwelling unit prior to asserting a defense against an action for rent or possession pay into court the amount of rent found to be due or unpaid. This is basically about the tenant having a right to an assertion when there has been a health or safety hazard and not having to pay into the escrow at the front end. So move passage of the bill.
The question is, shall House Bill 281 pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. House Bill 281 passes.
House Bill 1078, a bill to amend and reenact a bill relating to Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, adverse action by landlord, tenant remedies. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendment.
Senior Senator from Prince William.
Thank you, Madam President. I moved to recommit House Bill 1078 back to General Laws and Technology. And speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. So there's a number of different bills in the Landlord-Tenant Act, and I think previous law on expungement covers a portion of this, and I think that with the additional days from 5 to 14, it's probably wise to take a look at the impact and effect of what we already have in terms of the ability to petition and remove prior detainer and other landlord issues that are perhaps on an individual's record. And so in combination with the other bills that we're passing, I think this needs a little bit more work, and we've reached out to the patron as such. So I ask that it be recommitted.
The question is, shall House Bill 1078 be recommitted to the Committee on General Laws and Technology? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is recommitted to the Committee for General Laws and Technology.
House Bill 1093, a bill relating to Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, landlord remedies, tenant's right of redemption, attorney fees. Reported, the committee amendment has been adopted by the Senate.
Senior Senator from Prince William.
Thank you, Madam President. Likewise, in similar posture, I'd move that this bill be recommitted to the Committee of General Laws and Technology. And speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I think we've also passed the change of 5 to 14 days already in the Landlord-Tenant Act, and so this provision, because you would not be able to collect lesser fees and in the attorney process, I think it'd be wise to assess, based on the fact that we're giving tenants additional days in the process, it could be more complicated and more expensive at that point, given that there's additional days in the process to start the process to recover rent and eviction if necessary. that it'd be wise to take a look at this back in committee. So also have reached out to the patron in this regard based on the 15 or so other bills in this act. I think it is a little bit more prudent to take time in the committee on this. So I'd ask that it be also recommitted.
The question is, shall House Bill 1093 be recommitted to the Committee on General Laws and Technology? All in favor of that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is recommitted to the Committee for General Laws and Technology.
House Bill 489, a bill relating to restorative justice practices, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
The senior senator from Loudoun.
Madam President, I move that we withdraw the floor substitute. I think this bill is going to end up in conference committee, but I just move we withdraw it and send it to conference committee and try and work out those issues.
Without objection, the substitute for House Bill 489 is withdrawn.
Okay, so a look inside the General Assembly, specifically the Virginia Senate right now, as they work through a number of different bills. You saw active votes happening. You saw descriptions of the bills being provided by elected officials, and bills passing or failing live right now in the Virginia Senate. Now, if any other bills come up that are, noteworthy or directed very strictly to Hampton Roads and our needs and our wants, we'll try to make sure that we get out there or at least provide an update on those particular bills. For now, we're actually going to stay with Virginia politics. We're going to stay with our local elected officials here, but we're going to move to a slightly different topic. Now, there is an impending referendum on April 21st. Early voting has already begun for the new map that has been drawn, the redistricting that will be taking place in Virginia that will give more seats to democratically leaning districts. Now, again, April 21st, the referendum where every registered voter here in Virginia will be able to vote on that. Again, early voting happening right now if you would like to vote on that referendum. Now, both parties are now campaigning in this referendum. Democrats campaigning for a yes vote, Republicans campaigning for a no vote. And in the midst of that campaign, flyers were sent out, both via mail and via text message, that used Jim Crow-related imagery, civil rights-related imagery in a campaign to vote no on that particular redistricting referendum. Now, many have taken issue with this, including Don Scott and Mamie Locke, two of our elected officials right here in Virginia, who both spoke about this particular campaign during a press conference yesterday. We're going to play that press conference for you right now to get their perspective on a controversial campaign in the redistricting battle here in Virginia.
And as Dan mentioned, a MAGA Link group opposing the referendum is sending mailers to Black voters specifically that misuse hurtful imagery from the civil rights movement and even invoke Jim Crow, weaponizing one of the most hurtful and darkful chapters in our history to scare people into voting no and help Republicans rig the 2026 midterm elections. We will not fall for this divide and conquer tactic. These mailers are deeply offensive and deceptive. This scheme is shameful. The same MAGA Republicans pushing rigged districting maps to tilt the 2026 midterms in states like Texas and Florida are now exploiting the history of racial discrimination in Virginia to manipulate voters. It's cynical and deeply disrespectful, as I said. It is also disingenuous that they call themselves democracy and justice when they seek to do the complete opposite. We need to stop Trump's power grab. This referendum is about stopping the MAGA agenda and making sure the 2026 midterms are decided by voters, not politicians manipulating our elections. By voting yes, Virginians have the power to stop Trump's power grab, strip MAGA Republicans' unfair advantage, and ensure that midterms are decided on a level playing field by the voters, not politicians. It is voters whose voices will be heard on this issue. This isn't politics as usual. It is an emergency for our democracy. That's why Republicans are stooping to this low tactic that they're using. This temporary emergency measure is a short term response to unprecedented national interference. This type of interference we saw on display in these deceptive mailers. We deserve better. Virginians deserve better. And we can deserve better if we vote yes on April 21st. I will now turn it over to Speaker Scott.
Thank you, Senator Locke. First, let me thank Senator Mamie Locke, who has been in this fight for a long time and has seen these type of tactics her entire life. Being from Mississippi, this is the kind of things that you would expect. So if you want to talk about real Jim Crow relics in this country, she has been fighting to dismantle one of the biggest ones we still have here in Virginia, felony disenfranchisement. I want to thank her for that fight, because for generations, that law has silenced the voices of thousands of Virginians. It's a direct descendant of Jim Crow, designed to keep Black people out of the ballot box. And so Senator Locke has worked tirelessly to change that. So it's always my honor to do anything with her. And I respect her so much for that fight. She's made it possible for people like me to have the voice that I have, having lost my rights myself. So to see these folks try to use this type of language to trick Black people is not only shameful, embarrassing for our state, but it's also very harmful to folks who've been impacted by the loss of the franchise of voting. Now, look, folks, when I see people sending mailers using images from the civil rights movement, brave men and women facing down the KKK, people who marched, who bled, who died for the right to vote, to try to trick Black voters in Virginia, I take that very personally. The civil rights movement is not a prop. And for them to do that and then to try to bring in another Black man after the fact to say that he was involved with it when we know for a fact that was not the case. They brought him in after the fact. The blood and sacrifice of those who fought for the right to vote belongs to all of us, and it will not be hijacked by anonymous, MAGA-aligned political operatives trying to deceive our communities. And let's be clear about what's really happening here. Donald Trump put us all in this position. Donald Trump and Republican legislatures across the country are trying to rig the midterm elections because they know their policies are so unpopular, no one in their right mind would continue to support them. When you go to the pump right now today, we're seeing gas prices at all-time highs, grocery prices at all-time highs, inflation run amok. We're seeing families being devastated, not only in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but across the country. And so we know they cannot run on their policies, so they have to try to rig these midterms. Virginia is doing a responsible response to what we are seeing. We want to hold power to account. They, MAGA Republicans, on behalf of Donald Trump, they want to hold on to power and avoid accountability. If you listen closely, you've not heard one Virginia Republican come out. Not one elected Virginia Republican. I saw Glenn Youngkin come out and speak. He did not, when he was telling us what to do, he never told Donald Trump to stop it. He never told Donald Trump to stop rigging the elections in Texas, in Missouri, in North Carolina, and now in Florida coming up. So we have to push back. That's the punch that's being thrown, and Virginia is not going to sit there and take it. We're going to punch back. That's what this referendum does. It levels the playing field so that Virginians can protect fair representation at a moment when it is under direct threat. And when folks can't defend the truth, they start throwing anything against the wall and hope something sticks. And that's what they're doing right now. But here's the good news. Here's the good news. Virginians still have the power. You can go vote. We can vote. In Texas, North Carolina, Missouri, the legislature did it with no accountability from the voters. Here in Virginia, the voters will have the final say. Virginians can vote yes to push back against Donald Trump's power grab. They can vote yes to push back against the chaos, the higher cost, the division, the wars, the illegal tariffs, and they can vote yes to level the playing field. And so I'm so excited about the opportunity that we have in Virginia. It's going to be Virginia to the rescue. Early voting is already underway right now, and election day is April 21st. So I just said plain, from now until April 21st, go vote and vote yes. And now I hand it back over to Dan Gottlieb.
Morning. Waverly, Washington, a Republican and African candidate running in the 7th district, is behind a video that has been circulating online over the last week of several African Americans invoking the civil rights era and the redistricting referendum. So there's definitely some Black conservatives who feel that way. What is your message to them?
My specific message is that they are misguided and they don't understand their history. When John Lewis marched across that bridge, this past Sunday was the 61st anniversary of the March for Voting Rights in Selma, Alabama, when he crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge and got beat to do so. For these folks to be trying to even come close to invoking that that's what's happening here in Virginia, what they should be doing is the opposite. They should be saying what Donald Trump is doing is trying to disenfranchise Black Virginians and Virginians in general all over by asking Texas, Missouri, Florida, and North Carolina to rig their midterm so he could find additional votes to keep his unpopular policies going. If you look at what they're doing now, these folks are not saying anything about innocent Americans being innocent, unarmed woman being killed, Renee Good being killed in Minneapolis because of Donald Trump's policies. They're not saying anything about Alex Preddy being murdered because of Donald Trump's policy. We know his policies are so bad that we will have to, that we will continue to have to push back against him, and he knows that. And so when I see some of those folks who may be misguided, that's on them. But I can tell you one thing: the majority of Black folks, we know who's with us. Every Republican in the House this past week voted to keep up the Confederate memorials here in Virginia. Every Republican last week voted to continue the Jim Crow era disenfranchisement on voting rights. We already know what their record is. So if they want to continue to try to mislead Black folks, we've been around long enough. We understand what's going on, and we won't be fooled by that. And I know this is not about black-white. This is about what's right and what's wrong. And we know that it's wrong for Donald Trump to be rigging these midterm elections. And so we're going to continue to fight, and we're going to let Virginia voters have the last word.
Okay, so there you hear reaction to these flyers that have been going out in regards to that redistricting referendum. We're going to go from Virginia politics to national politics. House GOP members speaking live right now in Florida, our first live event of the day. Let's head out to Florida and take a listen. Which we are getting queued up for you as we speak, and there it is. We have it. Let's take a listen.
Is highlighting the wins that we've already gotten, but what specific pieces of legislation are we going to do, right? You heard the president on Monday when he was here, the Save America Act, extremely important for him, as well as specific pieces of legislation to bring costs down for Americans. So again, thank you all for being here, and thank you for your engagement. We'll take a few questions.
What would you put the percentage at of Reconciliation 2.0 getting done?
100. No, I'm kidding. Do you see how we agree?
Everybody must have loved our first reconciliation bill so much because that's all we talk about. Hey, when's the second act going to come?
Yeah, there is definitely an appetite for it. There's no question that there's an appetite. But again, we have a one-vote margin, and we know the Democrats aren't going to help us with any of our policy wins. I mean, we could have the cure for cancer, and they're not going to vote with us on that. We know that. So I am an optimist by nature, and I think we will do something. I think I would put the odds a lot higher after this retreat than before I walked in, and that's personally for me.
Can you talk about your messaging on immigration? There's been some reporting that there was a shift, particularly around mass deportations. Can you just talk about what your message
I don't know that I would use the word there's been a shift, but what we do for messaging is we try and get out of the Washington bubble, right? And we try to go back and connect with our districts and the communities, because that's really what matters. And what it shows is Republicans are on the right side of deporting violent criminals. I mean, if you ask people, it's a winning issue. We want violent criminals to be deported. We want the border to be closed, and we want our communities to be safer. That's the messaging that we need to make sure we get out there. What we need help is, a little bit of help from you, is covering the violent criminals, right? And covering what we're doing, not picking and choosing, you know, the one little boy in the blue hat, so to speak, right? We have to focus our message because it matters. We need to keep our communities safer, deport the violent criminals. That's what we need to focus on because that's the winning message. So I don't know if it's a shift, but.
We've seen House Republicans be very supportive of passing the SAVE Act.
Yeah.
Are House Republicans calling on the Senate to change some of their rules, maybe even nuke the filibuster in order to get this legislation passed?
I think you saw that this morning. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, there's lots of conversation about it. Well, I personally will defer to our Senate colleagues, and they know how to navigate this, and we're united in the concept and moving it forward, and we'll just kind of defer to the Senate on how they're going to play
There was
this out.
a ton of talk about that and how we get the Senate to act, and I think you even see today the Senate's moving, right? You saw Cornyn come out today and in favor of that. So the SAVE Act is a very important act that we need to get across. Again, it's a contrast between one party wants fair elections and the other party doesn't, right? So we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we can get that across the finish line.
Any remarks about the relations with Cuba and Venezuela?
Not a ton of talk about that this weekend, no.
On FISA?
More on policy issue, though. Yeah, we'll get to everyone.
The expiration for FISA is coming up next month, and there's
we didn't notice. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Tons of talk about how important it is to get it.
Yeah,
get it
is House Republican leadership working on an extension right now? And if so, like, is there any discussions of new restrictions, like requiring a warrant?
What we've talked about and what the president's talked about is he wants a clean reauthorization. I think they're debating a little bit on the time period. Don't quote me on that because I wasn't specifically in that meeting. But we will definitely get FISA done. We have to.
There was incredibly good reforms that we all came together with last time. The president wants to see all that stay in place and move forward on this with clean reauthorization, and I think there's momentum to do it.
Last question.
During President Trump's remarks to House Republicans, he said his 5 priorities are going to be what he wants to put in the Save America Act: voting rights, voter ID, proof of citizenship.
That was the gold standard.
Right, no mail-in voting.
Just
and
5? There's not more?
No mail-in voting, and then some transgender issues. Yesterday, Speaker Johnson said his main priority from now until the midterms are going to be affordability. Is there a divide, or are you guys maybe not singing from the same songbook exactly when it comes to what you should be corely focusing on in the next few months up to November?
I don't think it's an or. I think it's an and. If you look at economic issues, that is really what is important to a lot of Americans. It's pocketbook issues, right? So it's an and, not an or. That's how I would frame it. So thank you again. I really appreciate it. And safe travels home.
Everyone.
Enjoy your day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll take your feedback too.
Appreciate it.
All right, there is your House GOP leader speaking today in Florida. A brief press conference there, and we are going to let that lead into a brief break for us. We talked about updates on Iran. Those are to come, as well as more Virginia politics and any live events that may occur. So stay with us. Let's take a break for now. Okay, we return with an update on the war in Iran. This is Israel and the United States war with Iran, to be more specific, and we're just going to give some updates that have come today. This is a situation where it is constantly evolving. New pieces of information are constantly arriving. So I'm going to try to parse through some of today's new information and bring to you what you need to know. Let's start with this. Now, Iran attacked commercial ships across the Persian Gulf and targeted Dubai International Airport. This escalates a campaign of squeezing the oil-rich region as global energy concerns mounted. Now, we're going to get to how some of those energy concerns have touched down right here in the United States a little bit later on. For now, let's continue with some updates. Now, these updates many of them will kind of relate back to the energy situation, but we're also going to explore a couple of other aspects of this. Now, Admiral Brad Cooper, a commander of U.S. Central Command, has said that as a result of the United States strikes, including one on a large ballistic missile manufacturing facility, Iran's ballistic missile and drone attacks have dropped drastically. The targets have included more than 60 ships. This is a video, again, from Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of the U.S. Central Command. Now, Cooper also confirmed that the military was using, quote, advanced AI tools to, quote, sift through vast amounts of data in seconds. So AI has been something that has started to touch nearly every corner of our society. That holds true for war and defense, as you can hear based on this update from Admiral Cooper. Okay, elsewhere. From a naval expert, there's been a lot of talk about the Strait of Hormuz. It's a small, narrow water passageway, but nonetheless, 20% of the world's oil passes through that passageway. Now, the Strait of Hormuz right off Iran's coast, and it is, according to an update from the Associated Press, now effectively closed by the war. It's vital to that global economy. Governments are working on blueprints to reopen it to oil tankers and other shipping once the shooting stops. Now, former naval officers who are intimately familiar with that narrow passageway say vessels would be sitting ducks if military forces tried to reopen the waterway before hostilities cease. Here's a quote from a French Navy retired vice admiral. In today's context, sending warships or civilian vessels into the Strait of Hormuz would be suicidal. A ceasefire agreement with Iran would make the situation shift from suicidal to just dangerous. At that point, military ships could be deployed and escort operations could begin. Again, this is according to a retired French Navy vice admiral. So the Strait of Hormuz remains something that it's a piece of global trade that in normal life you would not necessarily consider or think about. There's a chance that you could go decades without ever hearing about its existence, depending on your line of work. But a conflict, a war like this breaks out, and suddenly the Strait of Hormuz is something that is on the top of everybody's minds due to its impacts. Yes, sir.
And the video that I'm showing now, this is new video from the Strait of Hormuz that shows ships from the United Arab Emirates. You can see they're all lined up one after the other because of what's happening, that they're kind of stacked on top of each other right now.
Are they moving through the strait?
I don't think so. I think they might be standstill right now.
Okay. Okay, so an example there of what we're talking about. And you could see, I mean, ship after ship after ship in the Strait of Hormuz, as that strait is effectively closed, again, according to some of our reporting here. Let's continue and make sure that there are no more updates that are sort of absolutely critical for us to bring to you right now about the war in Iran that continues. It's stretching into its 12th day here. As the United States and Israel continue to engage with Iran. So let's see. We do have an update here, a quote from Benjamin Netanyahu. Now let's go through here and say that it is Michael Eisenberg, general manager of the Aleph Venture Capital Fund, who told the Associated Press on Wednesday that he hopes Iranians will seize this opportunity to claim their freedom, as it's currently the only option on the table. He said the war's goals include enabling the Iranian people to take hold of their future in what he called a once-in-a-generation opportunity. So again, that is a advisor to Benjamin Netanyahu, Michael Eisenberg, the general manager of Aleph Venture Capital Fund, and so who is encouraging the Iranian people to seize the opportunity to claim their freedom. As we know, Mojtaba Khomeini, the son of Ayatollah Khomeini, who was killed at the beginning of this war, has been selected by a council of experts in Iran to be the next supreme leader of Iran. And we have another update from Israeli intelligence. That assessment, according to Israeli intelligence officials and a reservist with knowledge of the situation, the 56-year-old Mojtaba Khomeini, the son of the late supreme leader, has not been seen since succeeding his father on Monday. His father and wife both were killed in an Israeli airstrike on the first day of the war. So this is an update that has come from Israeli intelligence. They are indicating that the new supreme leader was injured at the start of the war, the day that his father was killed. So that is our update on Iran today. Now, Senator Mark Warner from Virginia also spoke about this conflict yesterday. We're going to play some of the clips of him talking about what is happening when it comes to the war with Iran. Let's listen to Senator Warner.
Let's go through the 4 goals that President Trump has laid out. Regime change, it doesn't look that way. The new supreme leader is literally more conservative, more hardline. And since America and Israel has killed his father, his wife, and his kid, I'm not sure there's any room for negotiation. The second goal was taking care of Iran's nuclear capability. Clearly the conversation about going boots on the ground to go after the enriched uranium. There was conversation about that, but the fact that there's been no action on that indicates there's not a success there. The third was ballistic missiles, and while we have taken out some of the launchers, I'm not going to get into percentages, but the Iranians still retain a great deal of ballistic missile capacity. And the fourth, taking out the Iranian Navy, which was added late last week. I think we have sank some of the ships, but Iran has a huge number of these small kind of speedboats, small boats that can still really mess up the Straits of Hormuz. So I'm not sure we've even accomplished that goal. And I do think it was more than a little unusual that the president yesterday came out about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the markets were tumbling, gave what appeared to be a very positive outlook. The markets rallied, and then once the markets rallied, I'd like to know who made all the money there. The president then later in the evening went back to a more accurate assessment, and the markets are down today. So I don't think any of the 4 goals have been met, and I do wonder about this, frankly, manipulation of the markets they seem to be taking place.
Okay, back here in Live Impact News, Senator Warner speaking about the goals of this war. He also spoke about the timeline of the war, something he's gotten a lot of questions about. So let's listen in on that soundbite.
I don't have a clear timeline. If the timeline was going to be actually to meet the 4 goals that the administration has laid out, that will take an indeterminate amount of time. It appeared yesterday, because the president was spooked about the rising gas prices, about $125 million a day Americans are paying in additional gas prices, and that he was looking for an exit ramp. That seemed to last a little while. It seems we're back today to Hegseth saying, we're going to have the biggest attack of all of the war so far today. And clearly, if they're going to meet the goals, we've got a great deal of time to come.
Okay, there you have it, Senator Warner. Speaking about gas prices within that answer, we're going to go over some of those gas price increases that we've been seeing here in the United States. I mean, this an international energy crisis here. There is an International Energy Agency that has agreed to release the largest volume of emergency oil reserves in its history to counter the effects on energy markets of this war. So there are global energy concerns, I'll say, in regards to what's happening in Iran right now. And we pulled up that map just a second ago. Let's look at this map and look at some of the impacts that we're seeing here. These are national retail prices, and as you can see, the dark red kind of moves on down to a dark blue, goes through a sort of a progression there, or a regression, if you will. And out there on the West Coast, as Sarah is showing us, those prices through the roof, over $5.30 in California, $3.9 in Alaska, and that whole block of the West Coast is up there above $4, well above $4. And then you move over, and there's a brief respite here. Idaho is still under $4, Utah under $4 as well, New Mexico under $4, and then you get into Texas, where you're in that sort of Virginia range, right? That just over $3.20, $3.32 in North Carolina, a little higher in Virginia actually, $3.34, $3.35 in Virginia. Now let's look at, we can even break this down as far as our area goes, and you see actually Hampton Roads. I mean, it's really some of the more populous areas. When you look at this map, it's the more populous areas where you'll see sort of the higher, even over to the left. I bet you that's in the Roanoke area, over in the western portion. If you go over to that one red dot, I'm assuming that's that's Bland, Virginia, $3.39. Up in the Nova area, you'll see some of those elevated prices. If you look at the Eastern Shore, you see elevated prices up there. Accomack County, Northampton, up over $3.4. Though it does look like a brief break down in that Virginia Beach corner there. What's that, Virginia Beach City? What's in the corner there? You would think that'd be Virginia Beach as well, Sarah. What's that? There's a white portion in the corner. Oh, that must just be a mistake on the map there.
Where it starts.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so Virginia Beach in that sort of second tier there. Let's go up to the peninsula and see what we're working with. Chesapeake, $3.37. York, over $3.4. Hampton, right up to the border there. Newport News, just under $3.4. York, though, once you get up into that Williamsburg, James City County area, you are up above $3.40. So it is elevated gas prices. Richmond, of course, a very populated area, up over $3.4. So, okay, we can actually see a year ago. All right, so if we look current average, regular, a year ago, $2.88, and then you go to your current average, and it is $3.34, $3.35. So you can see the clear and distinct difference there. Now, a year ago is one thing, but if you look at a year ago compared to a month ago, right? Not a great difference. A year ago compared to a month ago. Then you go a month ago and you compare that to the current average, and I think that provides a relatively stark showcase of the difference here. Even a week ago, you've seen a notable increase, a 30-cent increase from a week ago up until this current average. So it is clear as day the increases that we're seeing in this area. And this is even more broken down for us, but the trend is similar. The trend is similar here, but more broken down for us across the area. You look over there at that diesel price, and that is way, way up there. A year ago, diesel prices, a month ago, diesel prices, $3.61 if you round up. Now, $4.85 if you round up. So over $1 increase for diesel over the course of the last month. $1 per gallon increase for diesel over the course of the last month. So you can see those increases. Go ahead, Sarah.
And I was just going to mention, so the way that AAA does it, we saw the national map to see, what each state is seeing. And then we went into Virginia. So this right here, that's the Virginia average. If you scroll down, you can see it's broken out. If you go over the map, you can see it's a really easy way to see what each locality is seeing.
Right.
Specifically in Hampton Roads, it also down here breaks it down similarly, where it's the current average, what we were seeing a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. And right now it looks like Hampton Roads is trending a little bit higher at the pump compared to the statewide average.
Hampton
Just by
Roads.
a few cents. But that's usually, I feel like Hampton Roads is always within a few cents of the
Yeah. And
Virginia
trending up by a few cents, multiply that by filling up your car gallons, and you've got, significant impacts on the wallet of consumers here as a part of these energy concerns that have come with the Iran war. Now, you mentioned, Sarah, you got your tank filled up as soon as you started to realize that this might be steadily growing.
Oh, well, I didn't know because it was last week I filled up, and then
Okay, you just happened to fill up
prices
before.
were still under $3.
Yeah,
And
okay.
so then after the weekend, I filled up at the right time.
Yeah, real fortunate timing there. We'll go ahead and give you credit for it anyway. You timed it perfectly. You got in there and got the tank filled up. And obviously, people budget for a week, people budget for a month, people budget for the year, and that budget includes what they assume will be relatively uniform gas prices and energy costs. And when something like this happens, it can certainly impact those budgets, which can then impact the amount of money that is being spent in the community or the amount of money that is being saved. I mean, these are all effects that we could see down the road as this war continues to impact global energy supplies. And it's something that we'll continue to track here. Now, again, obviously, measures being taken, as we mentioned right before, the International Energy Agency agreed to release the largest volume of emergency oil reserves in its history in a bid to counter the effects on energy markets of this war. Now, of course, that means those emergency reserves, once you empty them, once you release them, now you are without that safety cushion. So that is a factor in this as well. Oil prices remained well below Monday's peaks, but the price of Brent crude, the international standard, was still up 20% Wednesday from when the war began. Consumers around the world feeling the pain at the pump, as just evidenced by our examination of that map that we just had right there. So that is what we're dealing with here. Go ahead, Sarah.
I just wanted to mention that on Monday we had someone from Gas Buddy on the show, and they did a really good job of breaking down. He basically said it's not a supply problem, it's a price problem. And in the U.S., it's not that we're not, because we have plenty of oil in the U.S. So he just did a really good job breaking down why we're seeing what we're seeing right now. So if people want to watch that, I do believe that it is on the 13 News Now YouTube page, and also it might be on the 13 News Now Plus app clipped separately. So that was just a really good explainer.
So we see those differences in prices at the pump, and maybe somebody who can break down a little bit of why we're seeing the differences, why maybe it's, as you said, we have plenty of supply. Why are those prices changing the way they are? How does the war in Iran affect markets as much as it affects supplies? So all very, very good. You can go to 13 News Now YouTube page or possibly our app to watch that interview in full to get some more insight into what we're seeing here with these prices. Now, for now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief commercial break. When we come back, we're going to hone back in on some Virginia politics as things continue up in Richmond at the Virginia General Assembly. For now, a commercial. We will be right back. We got about 15 minutes left in the show. We'll wrap it for you over the course of the next quarter hour. Oh, welcome back to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. Now, we are going to re-engage with Virginia politics as we move through our stream here. We've talked a lot about this today. The General Assembly is in session. We took a live look into the General Assembly, but for now, we actually want to focus on a debate that has been surrounding the Virginia budget. Okay, now this is going to be Luis Lucas at the center of this with Governor Abigail Spanberger and her team. Luis Lucas is the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, and she has been posting on X about this situation revolving around data centers. Okay, this tweet sums it up relatively succinctly. Let me be clear, there will not be a budget with Glenn Youngkin's data center tax breaks in it. Glenn drove up your utility bills to give tax breaks to data centers. Strong as battleship steel, I will fight for affordability for the people and encourage Governor Spanberger to join me. So what are we talking about here? Well, again, Glenn Youngkin, tax breaks for data centers agreed upon by the state, and there are data centers being built in parts of Virginia. It's been something we've talked about here in Hampton Roads and Chesapeake. There was talk of a data center being constructed, and Luis Lucas is saying that those tax breaks will be no more. However, there has been, how do I phrase this correctly? There has been another side, another opinion that those tax breaks, as agreed upon, should stay in due to the simple fact that they were agreed upon, even if it was a different administration that was in place when they were agreed upon. So this is something that we are seeing play out in real time, and there is plenty more to learn as we move through the General Assembly and as they begin to formulate a budget. So affordability, the major sort of centerpiece of the Democratic campaign that led to so many wins in the General Assembly for Democrats, in the governor's seat for a Democrat, and so on down the ticket. And now it pops up again in terms of how to reach that affordability between different elected officials as they take control in Richmond, as they take control in in the Virginia General Assembly. Now, I've been a little disjointed in my speech pattern because I was looking for this particular article from the Associated Press that I think provides helpful context. Now, these tax breaks that we have seen, this is a data center hub that we have become here in Virginia, at least according to this particular article, and there's been talk from residents about the noise and the strains on the power grid that data centers provide, but there has been national pushback on data centers resulting from that. Virginia senators voted to end a projected $1.6 billion annual tax break, requiring the industry to resume paying a minimum 5.3% sales tax from Virginia senators. That proposal has left some opponents warning that it would bring construction of data centers in Virginia to a screeching halt. So that may be a better summary of the situation than I gave before. So, having data centers being built in Virginia, do we want that to be delayed or diminished due to getting rid of those tax breaks, something that was agreed upon previously? But getting rid of those tax breaks could potentially lead to billions of dollars in surplus that could then be used throughout communities. So the state tax department says the industry has invested more than $80 billion in Virginia and created thousands of jobs over the past 2 years. So those are some of the benefits that maybe come from data centers being built, is $80 billion of investment in Virginia and thousands of jobs created. That's just over the last 2 years. Now, it's far from a guarantee that the Senate proposal will pass the House, but again, it's already causing debate amongst Democrats. There is a budget deadline looming. Governor Abigail Spanberger's office says she was wary of going back on Virginia's commitments to businesses that have invested in the Commonwealth. And that, of course, is refuted by, or there is pushback from Chair of Senate Finance Committee, Luis Lucas, one of our representatives from right here in Hampton Roads, who says those tax breaks will not be in the budget, compared to Abigail Spanberger being wary of going back on deals that have been made with businesses who are investing in Virginia. So that is currently at the center of Virginia politics right now, specifically when it comes to the budget. Also at the center of Virginia politics is the General Assembly going through a number of House bills and voting on those bills. We can listen in live in Richmond right now as it looks like they're now debating House Bill 808. Let's go out to Richmond and take a listen. This particular bill prohibits insurers from altering adjuster reports. So let's listen in and hear some of the proceedings.
Except in certain circumstances, the bill requires adjusters to retain all versions of the estimate of loss. The substitute removes the prohibition on a public adjuster modifying an initial estimate of loss under certain circumstances and prohibits an insurer from reducing a loss estimate without providing certain information.
The question is, shall House Bill 808 pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 7.
Ayes 33, noes 7. House Bill 808 passes.
House Bill 845, a bill relating to unlawful detainer, bifurcation, contested rent, and damages. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass and speed the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, Senate House Bill 845 is also a new bill we haven't seen before, although we did see it last year, and we did pass it, and it did get vetoed. The bill basically says that a court, if in an eviction case, somebody comes to court and the judge asks them, do you agree or dispute the amount of rent that you owe? If you say you dispute the amount of rent that you owe, that the judge cannot bifurcate the case and grant possession at that moment. They have to continue the entire case for trial so that the amount of rent you owe and your right to possession can all be litigated at the exact same time. Apparently in some general district courts, there were judges that if somebody said, hey, the only thing I got a problem with is I don't owe that amount of rent, but I'm paying my rent, I just don't agree that, I don't owe that last $500 because of whatever, a judge would grant possession on the spot and then continue the case for a few weeks for a trial on damages. This says you can't do that anymore. And again, the bill was vetoed last year, passed out of courts 9-6, so I'd hope we could pass it again.
The question is, shall House Bill 845 pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. House Bill 845 passes.
Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News for the final time this morning because our show has come to its end. We appreciate you spending the last 2 hours with us. Thank you for